So, hey, Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA. So today, I just come across this, just popped up in my feed, and so I thought this was an interesting topic because I've enclosed many garages over the last 40 years, but in some cases, I've even taken enclosed garages and put the garage doors back on. It's kind of a judgment call. As an investor, I just try to make the most money I possibly can. So listen, if you're new to the channel, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. But I'm going to explain to you guys by the end of this thing why you should and why you shouldn't, and how you can make an extra $50,000 to even $150,000 on a single home by just doing the right thing. And I'm going to show you firsthand what to do. With real examples. Again, I've been buying and selling real estate for 42 years. Welcome to the Flip Anything USA podcast. So I'm going to get into it, and we're going to watch this gentleman. I don't know his name. This is the first time I've ever watched his channel, to be honest. But I like him because he's a builder like me, or a carpenter, and we're going to talk about it. Let's start.
Have you ever noticed that just about every newly built home has a garage that looks like this? Why do most home builders leave garages unfinished and unpainted? When we bought our first single-family home that had a garage, I was super pumped, and I immediately wanted to paint the garage so I didn't have to look at that ugly brown sheetrock or drywall with those white stripes and white marks all over it. And I thought, I'm going to paint this thing. This is going to look way better. I'll be able to work out here. And some of my neighbors immediately said, don't do it, man. If you do that, they're going to raise your taxes. You're going to have to pay more. It's not worth it. So I never did.
Okay, so first of all, what he's saying isn't wrong, but you got to understand something. If you finish out the inside of your garage, who's going to know? He said they're going to charge you more. You're going to have to pay more taxes. No. I mean, if you reported to the tax assessor that you finished out the inside of your garage. But what this goes to is that a garage is not counted in your square footage. A lot of people don't know that. You might have a 1,600 square foot house, but really, if you count the garage, you've got another, maybe 400 square feet there. It just depends. About a 20 by 20, 400 square feet. Some are bigger than that. Some are 500 square feet. Last several houses I bought actually had 500 square foot garages. So anyways, let's watch this, and then I'm going to give you some first-hand examples. I'm going to actually show you some garages, and this is really good stuff, by the way. You really want to see this. So I'm going to show you, let me put this over here if I can. I'm going to show you, I'll come back and I'll show you some of this stuff right here. You see this here? I'll explain this later. This is, that's a house I actually just recently put new garage doors on that was enclosed. This is a garage that looks like it's not enclosed, but it kind of is enclosed. And then this is another one that I'll get into that's kind of a different space. All great information you should know if you have a home or if you want to do such a thing, and you'll just learn a lot. So let's keep watching this gentleman. This is called Learn to DIY. Learn to DIY. I think that's great. Not enough handy people out there these days, and we need more of them. And let's keep watching.
The thing I started noticing was that not only were a lot of these garages not painted or finished, but the finish that was on the drywall is what's called a level 1 or level 2 drywall finish. So basically what that means at that lower level is that they're putting up the drywall, they screw it all in, and then they use a single layer of mud and tape over the joints, and then a quick and dirty layer basically over the screws just to cover them up. So you won't see any screws, and we'll talk more about why they go just to that specific level, but that has a great impact on your ability to actually paint it later. At that level 1 or 2, there are no extra coats of mud, so not a second.
Yeah, the other thing you got to look out for is you want to make sure they insulated it, because a sheetrock garage that isn't insulated, and they do it all the time, unfortunately is not an insulated structure.
Or a third coat, for example, there's usually not any sort of a texture on there, and it's just not ready for paint. I recently drove through a brand new neighborhood that was just being finished up, full of $1 million homes, and a lot of the garage doors were open, so I was, snooping around, taking a peek in there. I'm always curious about this sort of thing. And guess what? They all had the same garages as I did. They had that level 1 or 2 finished drywall, nothing else. No paint, no finish, did not look good. So that leads me to believe this can't be a cost issue, right? When you're building $1 million home, surely you're not going to skip the little bit of money that it costs to finish off your garage, right? So I decided to hop online and see what I could find out about this topic. And it was kind of tough to find answers specifically to this.
Okay, so look, I just started watching this. I haven't watched this yet, but I'm watching it with you. I don't know we need to watch the whole thing, but maybe I'll fast forward through a little bit of it. But here's the deal. When you build a home, and I've built many, the garage is not counted as livable space. And so when you see a home that's 1,600 square foot, it has the potential to be 2,000 square feet, but it'll be a home without a garage. Now, there's pros and cons to finishing the interior of the garage. I wouldn't worry about the tax. If you're going to resell it, in many places, it just makes a lot more economic sense to go ahead and finish out the garage, and I'll tell you why. If you're getting $200 to $300 a square foot for living space, in other words, for your home. So let's just say you got a 1,700 square foot home, and you're getting $300 a foot for the home, so that's $510,000 for that house. Now, if you, and this is a judgment call, you have the potential to enclose that garage, and let's just say it's another 500 square feet. Well, if you're getting $300 a foot, that's another $150,000 of livable space. Now, you'll get dinged for not having the garage, because some people, it's important to have a garage. Other people, not so important. Many people have garages and they park outside the garage. Not a big deal. But let's keep watching.
But a lot of forums had some pretty interesting suggestions. Here are some of the things that the good folks of the old intrawebs had to say. My father always told me that a drywalled garage adds to your property taxes. Garages are left unfinished because people do so many different things with their garages, especially from a storage standpoint. My guess is that they're just meeting fire code. Drywall is not a great wall material for a garage anyways. Too fragile and fussy. Paint it once and you have to repaint it when it peels. Leave it alone and it never needs maintenance. It's a Zen thing. As far as taxes, the folks from City Hall came by this summer and asked if I had finished my garage or completed any other upgrades. The garage was not finished at this time. This means the next tax assessment won't be for many years to come. And finally, unless someone asks for paint, the only requirement for build...
By the way, if the tax assessor wants to come in and look at your home, the answer is no, you cannot come in.
...is to have a 1-hour separation, and they're referring to fire separation, between the garage and living space. This is achieved with 1 layer of Type X gypsum board, fire taped on the garage side. Anything beyond that is money out of developer or builder's pocket. For an additional amount...
Yeah, so look, these are some observations from people that are, just kind of average folks, probably not builders and not investors. And so I'm going to push through some of this. Let's see what he says here.
Who represents a home builder that does huge homes, typically $400,000 to $900,000 range, and asked what he had to say about it. And he said, and I quote, "We don't offer that." That's it. Okay. So apparently it's not even enough of a concern of theirs to even bother offering it, regardless of what someone wants as a buyer. I reached out to a second home builder and they said it typically costs an additional $4,000 to $7,000 to paint and finish a 2-car garage, and most home builders, they just don't want to deal with that, or the buyers specifically don't want to pay for it. A third builder told me the following. He says, it's purely budgetary. You find most volume builders do a level 1 finish. This is the minimum to meet fire code. When you look at recommended specs from drywall manufacturers, they all recommend at least a primer coat on the surface. However, it's not to code, at least not in Utah. Some other places outside of Utah where the humidity is higher require all drywall surfaces to be coated. So, by all accounts from those in the know, it really does seem to come down to cost. Not a big surprise there. So,
yeah, listen, the cost is pretty minimal. I mean, it's all perspective, right? What's affordable to people out there. But The bottom line is most people can actually sheetrock their own garage. It's not that big deal, but if you do, be sure to insulate it. The other thing you want to think about is running some Romex and putting some plugs, because if you sheetrock your garage and then you want to put power somewhere, now you're going to be using, a conduit, and you're going to be nailing it to the outside of the sheetrock, which is not the best look. So if you are going to enclose your garage, consider, scatter a few boxes around. Some of you, if you're going to use it like as an extra living room, you want those boxes to be about, 14 inches to the top off the floor. So they're like a living room height, like you'd have typically in the rest of your house. But if you're going to use it as a workshop, then of course you're going to want to have, probably some of those plugs up there about 42 inches, so they're above a workbench. So you can have access and plug in and do different things. It's all about what you're going to do with the garage. So one of the things I've done in the past, and I'll show you real quick. So I'm going to show you a property that I enclosed the garage on, and I made about $400,000 or $500,000 on this property. I did this about, probably 20 years ago actually. So this is a house. This was a two-door garage right here where you see these windows. And a lot of people do a terrible job. When they enclose a garage, what they'll do is they'll leave the frame. I'm trying to push in here. They'll leave the frame so you can see the frame of the garage here, and it just looks funky. You can't really tell that this was a garage because I took out that 2x10 that went around the perimeter. Framed it in, and I put in these windows, and this became, like a big bonus room to this place. But here's the deal. This is a house that is, I think it was about 2,600 square feet, something like that. And what I reasoned is I was either going to sell a 2,200 square foot home, or I was going to sell a 2,600 square foot home. I and many people that I know don't typically use the garage. They park outside the garage. I have separate work buildings, and I have warehouses. I don't need a garage at home, to be honest. But those that do, hobby guys and people that want to have a shop, I understand that. But the bottom line is, I enclosed the garage, and when I sold the property, I got another $250 a foot for that 500 square foot garage. And so I made another, I probably made another $100,000 on that thing, a little over. And that's because I enclosed it. If I had not enclosed it, it wouldn't have even really counted. Maybe they'd have paid a little bit more per foot overall for the other. But in the end, I know I probably made at least safely another $80,000 by enclosing that. So it's your call. Everything's getting smaller. Space is getting more expensive for people to live. A lot of people don't mind their car sitting outside in the rain, or you can get a carport, which brings me to, I'm going to show you another property. This is another one. So check this out. I'm going to show you another property. This is one I just recently did some work on. And now take a look at this property. This one here, what they did is, let's see if I can get you to an angle where you can see it. Yeah, let's go in here. Now take a look. This is an enclosed garage, and see, they have basically the framework for two single car garages, right? This one here, they put some T111 or some Hardy plank, popped in a window. This one here, they did the same thing, and then they put in a door right here. Now I pulled this out. I pulled this out because I didn't. Look at this carport. You know what I mean? It looks like something out of the Beverly Hillbillies. This is a pretty rundown place. You can see there was probably 4 or 5 of these ACs in the windows. The air conditioners didn't work. But I'm going to make over $100,000 on this property, when I flip this, a little more than that actually. But again, and it was already quite a big house. So I tore off this carport. Went down to Home Depot, bought 2 $600 garage doors, insulated, by the way. Insulated will make them quiet. And that's the other thing I want to get to before we get done here is I want to let you know that one of the things you can really do that's really cool is you can have a garage that looks like a regular garage door, that from the outside nobody would ever know the difference. But it can be totally insulated, totally sealed. And that area inside the garage can become an extension of living space that's comfortable to watch TV in and that sort of thing. And I'll go to the iPad here in a minute, and I'm going to explain to you, because one of the things you need to know about garages is that they usually set about 4 inches below the rest of the slab in the house, and they have a pitch, they have an angle on them, right? It's so that if you wash anything out of the garage, or anything gets wet or spills, it runs out the front door. So there's usually some fall from the back out to the front door. So now take a look at this house again. So this is one where I actually added back the garage doors, but you can see this place really looks horrible. You can see, look at it, it just looks terrible. For a lot of reasons it looks terrible. But now let me show you the after on that one. Here's the after on that. And sorry, it's got my mug in it, but that's the only one I could find. But see, that's the same house. So look at before, after, right? Before, after. Put in new windows too. Just popped in some new windows, and then of course the garage doors are new. And again, took out that T111, and you can see what a difference. What's funny is when I replaced these doors, it made the roof look new. That's the same roof. But the roof looked like brand new after I just painted the trim, power washed the brick, and there you go. So back to the garage doors, though. Let me show you something else. Now here's a garage door. Pretty plain looking, right? And it's a functioning garage door. But on the inside of that garage door, in fact, I got a little video. Let me show you the video on that one real quick. So take a look at this. This is just a quick view in that same garage. So look, I'm going to show you an enclosed garage that we just did. Now this is all, now you see, that's insulated. That's all insulated. Foam, okay. But also there's some pretty cool kits you can use that will let you put a layer, kind of an insulated 1/4-inch thin film. Now, on that subject, let me tell you what I'm talking about, that 1/4-inch insulated thin film. Here's some of that right there. See that? You can actually put this over. This has got foam inside the panels, and then this is, it's just a little adhesive back thing, and it goes over that. But what I'll tell you what, it kills, it sound deadens big time, and then it also, it just looks cleaner, neater, right? Looks a lot better than looking at, what you see there that I'm pointing to, right? The metal. And then the other thing you can do, you can just paint all this stuff white, right? You can paint everything white. And this is what I was talking about if you don't pre-plan ahead, you can see there's exterior conduit on this. Now this is a big shop. This is a big workshop here. It's not like a regular interior of a home, but you can see you've got conduit on the outside here, and that's what you have to do if you don't plan ahead and put the power, run some Romex and put your boxes in so that you have, power in the walls around the garage. So something to think about. If you're going to sheetrock, don't forget to pre-wire it for some power. Even if you don't hook it up, just have it ready to go so somebody can do it for you later on. Okay, so there's before here. Let me go back and finish this video and get a quick tip on that. It makes this finish out very nicely like this next door I'll show you. All right, so that's it. This is foam, and you do that, and then there's another thing. It's like sound deadener. You see it sprayed in pickup beds and that sort of thing. You can get a can of that, and what you do is you spray that on the backside metal, here where my cursor is. You spray that on the backside there, and then put your foam in there. It'll deaden the sound so that it's not so tinny, and then add that finish layer like I showed you earlier. This stuff here, and you'll have a very quiet garage. Or some of you guys that are musicians, you want to make some noise in there. You do that, then put your sound panels there to absorb the noise that you're making, and your neighbors will appreciate it as well. So, all right, let's get back to this guy and watch a little more.
Not too long ago, I created a video where I tested these 6 different types of garage door insulation. And as I did each of those, I tested the ability to retain up the drywall. I screw it all in.
Sorry, we jumped ahead to
It's under
something.
construction, and so we see a garage with just studs. So once it's finished, we don't see the inside of the garage. So we won't even know the difference we can't
Oh, listen to this.
It's
This is
finished to a
interesting.
level 3 and it's painted. Are they going to cost any?
So I want you to listen to this. It looks like he called up and talked to a county assessor. So this is what I was saying. Nobody would know that unless you invited them in. So listen.
Being different from one to the other in taxes. I called up our county assessor to find out the answer to this question, and here's what they had to say.
They'll probably have them by default because when we usually inspect a house that's under construction, and so we see a garage with just studs. So once it's finished, we don't see the inside of the garage. So we won't even know the difference. We can't see it. Well, every 5 years we have to do a re-inspection of every property, but it's only done from the exterior.
I see. Okay.
So all we do is basically looking to see if there's some obvious condition issues or if it's been added on to, or maybe it's been re-sided or something. But most of our judgment is based on what we can see from the street.
Yeah. So to that point, the assessor's being gracious and sharing that information that he's sharing with you. But let me go back here and show you. Like, here's obviously this is garage doors here that I put on here. But let's go back to this. This is what the assessor would see otherwise. If he walked up, they would see this. They know by a door here, and there's no garage doors here anymore, then they're going to tax us at a higher rate because of that, if they catch it. But if you have a plain-looking garage door, like I showed you earlier, where is it? If you have, if your garage door looks like this, you could have it insulated and very comfortable in there, and you're not going to get taxed the extra amount. And then when you go to resell it, you can count it as finished. Here's the other thing. I'm going to make the distinction. This is really important because I almost missed this. It's not just being finished out, because just having the sheetrock done, that doesn't make it livable space. You got to have heating. You got to have heating and cooling to make that living space. So really the thing that really, and you could argue this with an assessor if they did try to hit you for that being more valuable, livable space, it's not. It has to have an air conditioning duct. If it doesn't have a heating and air duct blowing cool and hot air in there to keep it, more temperate to the rest of the house, then it's not living. It has to have air conditioning in there to make it cooler and heater or warmer. Otherwise, it's not livable. So don't let anybody push you around on the assessor's office just because it's drywalled and even insulated. That doesn't make it livable space. It still does not have heating and cooling. So just keep that in mind. Let's see what else. So it was nice. This is actually a really nice video this guy did. This is Learn to Do It Yourself. He's got quite a following, I see. And let's watch the rest of this.
So just out of curiosity, I polled you, my YouTube viewers, to find out what you guys have in your garage. And I gotta say, I was pretty surprised. Over 4,000 of you have voted, and it looks like currently 20% are saying they are framed, but there's no drywall in the garage. 27% says it's drywalled and not painted, kind of like what we talk about what builders typically are doing. And then an overwhelming 43% says they're finished and painted.
Sure.
By they, in this case, we're referring to the walls of the garage. And then,
Listen, why wouldn't you finish it out and paint it? It makes the space so much more comfortable and usable for not very much money. But look at that number, 43% finished and painted. So, which tells you that people value the comfort of the space inside over necessarily and not that they couldn't have a beautiful garage that, would have cars in it and everything else and be finished out like that. In fact, I have several friends that have very beautiful garages and beautiful cars that go inside. But and workshops as well.
And 10% says they're OSB, plywood, or other. So I was pretty surprised about that 43%. And reading through the comments, I started to realize so many people are actually just doing this themselves. So a lot of times the builder is still going to leave it either without drywall at all, just framed.
Yeah, the builder's not going to do it for you. I mean, it's a garage. In their plans, listen, you got to understand their plans when they go to build. If you're going to a home, and I'm a builder. I build homes. I don't do it anymore, but I used to build homes for people. And the thing is, you've already got the house, you've already got your architectural plans done. The garage is a garage. You can't really go back and change it without, creating a headache for yourself. That's why no builder wants to mess with it. But it doesn't mean that they won't do it after the fact. After the thing's done and finished, The deal closes. I'm sure they'll make a deal. They'll come back. In fact, what they probably want to do with you is say, look, let's not put the sheetrock on unless code requires it, and then they can come back, run you some conduit, run power, sheetrock it, finish it out, and it would be well worth it for sure.
Or they're going to do that level 1 drywall finish on it and not finish it further or paint it, and then the homeowner, whether that first homeowner or someone later down the road, goes in and paints it. In fact, one of my good buddies just down the street right here, just the other day, painted his garage for the first time. They didn't do the ceiling, but they did the walls because they said it's just ugly, and we just thought, you know, this is not expensive to paint it, so they did that right over the level 1 finish. Now, I've been told different things, like if you do that, then because it doesn't have the multiple coats of mud on it, then it's likely that that tape's gonna start to peel and crack and come up. So far, so good on his, but that's something you would definitely do at your own risk.
Listen, yeah, if you're gonna go to the trouble of painting it, you know, throw an extra skim coat over that, and you know, there's some guys that are like an artist with that. I got beautiful, drywall and mud guys, and you know, in the old days they'd sand everything. Some guys are so good they almost don't even have to sand it. You know, they do such a good job. But and then, you know, if it is a little bit rough, just throw a little texture on it. Texture hides a lot of imperfections in the wall, but you know, definitely take the time to listen. Texture it. Always texture it. Especially if you're a do-it-yourselfer, it'll hide all the flaws that you're bound to have because you're a do-it-yourselfer.
Because ideally, you should put at least another coat or 2 of drywall mud and then get that nice and finished and prepped for paint. The other thing I have to take into account with this particular poll is that the people who subscribe to my channel are DIYers. That's what this channel is all about. So these are people who are weekend warriors a lot of the time, and they're out in their garage building things, fixing things, and getting stuff done. So that garage space becomes a lot more important than it would for someone who's maybe not very handy or not into doing anything.
Hey, by the way, on that note, the sheetrock is much safer than he talked about OSB interiors or no interiors. If you're going to have a welder, sheetrock is a wonderful thing. Sheetrock and paint. Sheetrock and paint. It'll save you from a fire in a lot of cases.
Any DIY projects. So I probably have some skewed numbers versus the general population because you guys are handy and you guys are DIYers. So why do builders finish the garage this way? It's cheaper. It saves money. It all comes down to money. No big surprise there. As far as taxes, like we saw, it does have an impact on that. So that's something you're going to need to take.
Listen, it only impacts the taxes if you tell the assessor that your garage is finished out. And like that tax assessor told them, we don't know from looking on from the street. They don't know, so don't worry about that.
Into consideration when considering painting your walls, because then when it gets assessed, that might cause you to have higher tax rates. Speaking of DIY...
And listen, if you do get called out on that, if you don't have an air conditioning and heating vent, you can fight them. It's not livable space because it's not air conditioned. Sheetrock and paint does not matter. Does not matter. Your garage has sheetrock and paint. You can say, yeah, you got another $2,000 for sheetrock and paint, but it doesn't make it livable space where you're going to take it to the level that it's worth hundreds of dollars a square foot. Now, if you're going to go to sell it, then you want to go ahead and put in an air conditioning duct, and then you can count that as livable space, and you'll pick up a lot more when you go to resell it.
DIYing in the garage. I'm personally in the process right now, as we speak, of renovating my garage. I've actually ripped out all of that sheetrock with that level 1 drywall finish, and then I've added new electrical, run new audio cables in there, and then I've insulated it, run some resilient channel, put OSB on top of that, and then I'm going to finish that off with a new product called, well, I don't know how new it is, but new to me, called Truss Core, and I'll talk all about that in some future videos when I show that install process. It's pretty cool. But I'm kind of going all out because this needs to be my studio where I'm going to be recording these videos, as well as a wood shop, and it needs to be easily cleaned and well lit. So be sure to...
So, hey, really good job. And I didn't get the gentleman's name, but man, nice channel. This is called LRN2DIY. Learn to do it yourself, I assume. And he's got a hell of a following. He's got over 700,000 followers, and I can see why. Seems like a nice guy, straightforward, good information. And I will just tell him right now, listen, if you're going to do what you're doing, obviously, if you're going to make your studio, you're going to need to put an air conditioner in there. And consider a little, what we call a split unit. You put a split unit in there and independent of the house, or you can always tap a duct off the house and pull it in if you're assuming your garage is attached, not detached. But nice job. And anyways, and those of you watch and listen, if you are new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I've been an investor since I was 19 years old. That's over 40-something years now, and made a lot of money. I've done a lot of remodeling, done many garage, enclosing, we call it enclosing the garage or enclosing the carport. Do the same thing with the carport, but also with, in some cases, like I said, I've taken away a shitty job and put the doors back just because, just it seemed more appropriate for the neighborhood and to get the maximum amount of money on the property. And those of you can watch that, you can look at the father and son deal that will be selling, that job is finished. I'll be selling that house pretty soon, and you'll see where me and my son probably made a little over $100,000 on that deal. So looking forward to that. Listen, if you're a father, mother, whatever, if you want to get involved with real estate, there's no better way to make money. And to learn about that, you can go to FlipAnythingUSA.com. I've got a book, by the way, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. This is how I've made tens of millions of dollars. Made my first million when I was in my 20s, and that was back in the 1980s. Urge everybody to get involved with real estate and stay away from the fake gurus. Anybody that makes things sound extremely easy or doesn't point to specific deals and show that stuff that they've done, they're probably full of it. There's a lot of vultures out there. Don't fall victim to those guys. But get the book, hit subscribe and like. And if you want, go visit Flip Anything USA, and thanks for watching. You want to learn how to make millions of dollars in real estate? I've made tens of millions over my lifetime, and I'm showing people how to do it. Get in my free webinar. I have it every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Go to the link below, FlipAnythingUSA.com/webinar. Sign up for it. You can talk to me face-to-face if you want. Don't waste any time. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You don't want to miss my channel. I've been doing it for years.